You ever feel stuck? Like there's a part of you that's just holding you back from who you're really supposed to be? Well, today we're going to dive into a really powerful, maybe a little unconventional mental model for making a radical change. It's called the dark protocol. And right there, that's the core of it. Seriously, forget about little tweaks and positive thinking for a second. The whole argument here is that to truly change, you don't need another habit. You need to ceremonially kill off the part of you that's been sabotaging everything. It sounds intense, I know, but it's an incredibly powerful idea. So, who is this old self we're talking about putting in the ground? Well, the protocol has a name for it, the inner servant. And yeah, that's the identity we need to look right in the eye. It's that piece of us that just craves approval from other people. Let's get really clear on what this is. The inner servant is that voice in your head, you know the one, that tells you to stay quiet in a meeting because you're worried about what people will think. It's the part of you that puts off that big project because you're terrified of failing and being judged. It's constantly looking outside of itself for permission, for validation, before it ever dares to actually do something. And this is where it gets really interesting. Just look at the contrast here. On one side, you've got the servant, always begging, always afraid, always waiting for someone else to say go. But on the other side, you have the ruler. The ruler doesn't need your approval. They approve of themselves. They don't fear judgment. They only outcome no matter what it is. And they sure don't wait for permission. They give the command. That right there, that's the massive shift we're talking about. Okay, so how in the world do you go from being a servant to a ruler? Here's the thing. You don't reason with the servant. You don't try to manage it or negotiate. You hold a funeral, a literal metaphorical funeral for that entire identity. And this is so crucial. This isn't about fixing yourself or becoming a better version of who you were. No, this is about a complete and total identity replacement. It's a clean break. You're drawing a line in the sand and declaring that the part of you that was scared, the part that waited for permission, it's gone for good. All right, let's get practical. How do you actually do this? Because this isn't just a cool idea. It's a process you can follow. Think of it like a rite of passage, a structured ritual to make this transformation real. It really breaks down into 3 very clear steps. First, you've got to be brutally, unflinchingly honest and identify every single trait of your inner servant. Write them all down. Second, you write its eulogy. You spell out exactly why these traits held you back and why they absolutely must die for the real you to live. And finally, you perform the ritual. You read that eulogy out loud and you declare that part of you dead. You can burn the paper, bury it in the backyard, do whatever you need to do to make it feel fine. Because out of the ashes of that funeral, something new gets to be born. This is where we shift from destruction to creation. Once the servant is gone, the ruler can finally take the throne. Just think about the default question that runs through your head all day. For the inner servant, the filter for literally every decision is, what will they think of me? What if they judge me for this? What if I look stupid? It's a prison, and the bars are made of other people's opinions. And boom, here's the shift. The ruler's mind is coming from a totally different place. It couldn't care less about outside opinions because it's focused on the mission. The question becomes internal, objective, and all about action. Based on my goals, what is the next right step? What must be done? This new ruler identity is defined by these traits. They operate from their own internal authority, their own values and mission. They don't need a round of applause to know they're on track. They give themselves the green light. They take radical responsibility, owning every single result. And every move they make is on purpose, driven by a clear intention, not just reacting to fear. But what happens the day after the funeral? The work isn't over, not by a long shot. In fact, it's really just beginning. The protocol is the starting gun, not the finish line. This part is absolutely key. The funeral gives you that clean slate, but then you have to wake up every single day and choose to live as the ruler. The ghost of that old inner servant, it's going to try to show up, especially when you're feeling doubtful or scared. Your job is to spot it, remember that it's dead, and then act from your new identity. It's a constant, conscious choice, day in and day out. So that leaves us with this one powerful question. The dark protocol is a framework for a seismic identity shift. It's about burying the part of you that begs for permission so the part of you that commands can finally take over. So if you held that funeral today, who would you choose to be tomorrow?